welcome to lovely, sunny, roasting hot Spain for one of the most significant and important new car launches of 2019. It's the new Supra. How exciting is this? So we're going to do all the usual stuff in this video. We're going to drive it on the road, we're also going to drive it on the circuit and have a proper poke around this car and see if it's any good. But before we move on to any of that stuff, I first want to show you this. This is the new Supra press kit. This is everything Toyota thinks I need to know about this new car. Now, I don't normally show you these things because they can be a little bit dry, but there are two lines in here that I want to read out to you. First one, conceived as a sports car in its purest form with no compromise. Wow. Number two, Supra might be the antithesis of society's current car-related trends. Those two phrases fill my heart with joy. They promise so much. Now, the chief engineer, Tada-san, has already told us that he wants this car to be a focused, dedicated sports car. He doesn't talk about how usable it is every day, how comfortable it is over a long journey. To him, it's a focused sports car. Now, if any new car in 2019 is going to prove that a new sports car can still be exciting and thrilling and characterful and fun to drive, this surely is it.
This new Supra is the result of a collaboration with BMW. It therefore shares its platform with the new Z4. Toyota insisted on a very wide track and a short wheelbase, which underpins this car's agility. In return, BMW supplies the powertrain and lots of the interior tech. The engine is a 3-litre straight 6 with a single turbocharger. Power is rated at 340 horsepower and torque at 369 pound-foot. Toyota quotes a 0 to 62 time of 4.3 seconds and a 155 mph top speed. The only gearbox option is an 8-speed ZF Auto. Drive goes to the rear axle via a trick electronically controlled LSD. This car's full name is Toyota GR Supra. GR because it's the first car to be developed fully by Toyota's Gazoo Racing division. Suspension is by McPherson struts at the front and a 5-link setup at the rear. Adaptive damping is standard. Remarkably, the Supra has a stiffer body than the Lexus LFA supercar, a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and a lower centre of gravity than the GT86, which has a boxer engine. All of those things should make it exceptionally good to drive. The two-seat cabin is mostly very good and the quality is fine, although so much of the switchgear and the entire infotainment system is lifted directly from BMW. I won't give Toyota too much grief for that. Without BMW, this car wouldn't have existed at all, but it's a pity the shared componentry wasn't disguised in any way. The Supra starts at £52,695. They were told 99% of UK cars will be the highest spec Supra Pros. They start at £54,000. This is the 5th generation Supra, codenamed A90. It arrived 17 years after the A80 went out of production. After such a long layoff, anticipation for this new model has been boiling over for a long time. So is it actually any good? Let's head to the Jarama circuit to find out.
Now then, right now I have driven this new Supra through the Madrid rush hour traffic for about 20 minutes and I've done 3 laps of this very cool, very twisty, but also very fast Jarama circuit. Car feels good. First thing that you really have to be aware of is that this is an everyday road car. It's absolutely not a really hardcore kind of track day special. You have to keep that in mind. It's not light. I think if you're really hammering the brakes after 2, 3, 4 laps, they're going to start getting warm, they're going to start losing some bite. But if you're a little bit careful with them, you can do a much longer stint. It's a quick circuit in places, this. Through here, it feels really, really fast. But importantly, this Supra is so settled. The moment you turn into the bend, it grips, bites and goes. It feels planted. And the balance, it's all about the balance. 50-50 weight distribution, but also the chassis balance. So it doesn't want to understeer really heavily. It doesn't even want to just drift the moment you stand on the power. It wants to stay neat and tidy. Really good chassis balance. This 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, it's not exactly perfectly cut out for track work, but it's good enough. I'll give it that, it's good enough. Engine, lovely, tons of power, loads of torque, really keen top end. It'll spin out more or less to 7,000 RPM. Good throttle response as well. Yeah. For a car that really isn't designed to do heavy track work, it's a road car, an everyday car. This thing is holding up pretty well out here. These quick sections here where you're turning in at high speed into a blind corner, you need a car that fills you with confidence. And that's exactly what this Supra does. The moment you turn into a corner, it's settled, it bites. I think when you really start hustling it hard, really start chasing it around a lap, the brakes will start to wilt and it'll start to feel just a little bit heavy, a little bit lazy, but that's to be expected. I mean, for something that you could drive long distances, use every day, God, I think it's bloody impressive out here. More importantly though, what's it like on the road? So we're on the road in the new Toyota Supra. Now, I've driven this car through town, I've driven it on the motorway and on these twisty roads. First thing I want to say is that through town and on the motorway, it's effortless. You could easily use this new Supra every day unless you needed more space without even thinking about it. It doesn't feel like you're having to make allowances for a sports car. It doesn't feel uncomfortable or impractical. It's actually a very easy car to drive in normal everyday driving. I suppose that is a good thing. However, it makes me wonder about that promise that this is a sports car through and through. Now, I've driven it on some fast flowing roads, and I have to say on those it feels really good, like it did on circuit. It feels planted when you pitch it into a really quick corner. You're not nervous about what it's going to do. The moment you turn into a corner, the car takes a set and it grips and it just bites into a corner, so you feel super confident. It's when you get onto a really twisty hillside road like this one that you start to discover the car's limitations. Actually, to be completely truthful, it is very good along a road like this one. It really is. Given how usable and comfortable it is the rest of the time, it's very good indeed. So, like you did on circuit, you feel a really good natural chassis balance. So as soon as you're into a corner, you feel like you're loading up both axles equally, so the car just feels balanced, planted, set. The steering is good. It's e-Pass, electric steering, so it's never going to be super feelsome, really fidgety, lovely, delicate steering. But for e-Pass, I think it's very good indeed. Accurate, well weighted, easy to place the car, to position it on the road. Yeah, the steering's good. Brakes, pedal is a bit spongy. I want a really rock hard pedal. This one, just a little bit soft, a little bit squishy. The brakes are actually strong enough, but when you fling this car down a mountain road on a hot day like today, where you're using the brakes a lot, you do start to lose them. You can feel them getting hot and the pedal going long. Loads of grip, really good front end, and tons of traction as well. That differential is so clever, from completely open to completely closed in the blink of an eye. It just means you've got so much traction. This car's got a lot of torque, but even so, you can foot down out of a slow corner and you just fire up the road. Amazing traction. The gearbox, it's actually very good. It really is. This ZF 8-speed is such a superb box, and I like the calibration here. I like what Toyota's engineers have done with it, particularly on the downshift, because when you come into a corner and pull the left-hand pedal for downshifts, you get a bit of engine braking. You can feel the rear of the car just dragging the car into a bend a little bit. It feels great. You only get that in sport mode. And in sport mode, you can configure all the different parameters the way you want them. So that's steering, that's dampers, that's transmission and engine. So if you want, you can have everything wound up, but the dampers in the slack setting, That would work really well in the UK where our roads are just terrible. On this super smooth Spanish road, the firmer dampers work perfectly. The engine, lovely. Lovely engine, crisp, responsive, loads of power and torque, a good energetic top end, and it sounds good as well. A raughty, growly, inline-six soundtrack, it's fantastic. Actually, I think they could do even more with the soundtrack. I think the standard exhaust is probably just muffling it a little bit, just suffocating the engine a little bit. I think with a freer flowing exhaust, you'd get more of a howling soundtrack. And I think the engine as a whole would just be a little bit more exciting with a bit more of a harder edge. It's actually a very smooth, refined, very sophisticated engine, whereas I don't know, I just think a Supra should maybe have a bit of a snarler, a bit of a ripper of an engine. This isn't quite that. The rear axle though is very good. It feels rigid, it feels locked into the shell, it doesn't feel like it's squidging about too much. And that differential is just so effective. It means you get all the advantages of an open differential on the way in, so not so much understeer, but then it will bite on the way out and you get amazing traction. It's actually quite hard to make this car slide. It just wants to fire away from the corner and up the next straight. So there's a lot to like about this Supra. There really is. It's good fun to drive. But it feels to me like there's more to be had here. I just can't help but feel there's more to come. We know they're considering a manual transmission. We know they're going to consider a slightly more powerful, perhaps a slightly more focused version. I think it really needs it because it's great to drive, but I just sense that there's more in this car because at the moment it feels like exactly what Tada-san says it isn't. He says it's not a compromise for everyday use. It feels to me like it is a compromise for everyday use. Fun to drive, yeah, but you reach its limits quite soon, particularly on a very twisty road. Yeah, the gearbox is good, but it would just be so lovely to have a manual transmission. I know, it's so obvious to say, isn't it? But the guys at Toyota, they say they monitor videos like this, they monitor discussions online. They're aware that lots of people want a manual transmission, and so they've said that if people keep asking for it, they will seriously consider putting a manual gearbox in the new Supra. So Toyota, from me, from everybody watching this video now, we'd all like a manual gearbox, please. Thank you. So the new Supra, we've been waiting a long time for this car. What's the verdict? It's so great to have a Supra back on the market. It's a welcome return, a very good car, but there's more to come. I know there is. I'm sure there's more to come. I want a slightly harder edged version of this Supra, manual box, and then it could be a killer car. It really could be a killer car. For now, it's actually more of a very good first effort.